Okay, everybody, today I'm going to cover the community grants framework on the DAO. Before we get started, let's watch the intro. All right. Okay, so we touched on this topic shortly in a previous video where we looked at the blog post that announced the new DAO. I've kind of touched maybe a little bit too thoroughly on this topic already, but I do want to have a separate video on this subject because it is simply very important and is really the foundation for Decentraland moving forward in its development. And basically, in short, there is a DAO mana fund, a limited fund, but currently quite a big pool of mana that is waiting to be deployed to develop Decentraland. Now, the Decentraland team, the foundation, is really encouraging the community to do a lot of the work. And now we actually have a tool to drive change, and this is money. And this usually works pretty well if it's organized properly and if it's managed properly. Now, we haven't really done this until now with the previous DAO, but now that we have a gasless system and which allows for frictionless voting, now we can actually get everyone involved who has mana or land. And yeah, what's possible with this DAO and what is possible with this grants framework? Right now, we seem to be starting off with relatively small numbers compared to how much money is available in the actual pool. But the explanation here is really to take things slowly and to make sure that all of these steps, and there is, that all of these steps are properly tested and confirmed, and before we move on to larger amounts, to larger projects. I think it's also important to understand what the community at this point in time has to offer. How much hunger is there in the community to actually bring forward proposals, let's say in the 500 to 1500 USD? I think that's an interesting question. Maybe in the content creation space, there will be someone. What am I doing with my arms there? I'm sorry, guys. This is a little bit. I think I've been having a long night yesterday. So maybe some of the existing community members would like to launch a series of videos to educate people on the DAO, let's say. And maybe they would like to have 500 to 1500 bucks for them to create intros, for them to create some kind of assets that they would like to deploy. Maybe they need to buy a software package to make it. Maybe they need to buy a microphone. Like, we don't know. Maybe we have a lot of talented people in the community who do not have any budget available to them to finance one of the projects on their own, and they need these 500 to 1500 bucks to get started. If we have a lot of these kind of proposals, and if the community agrees that we know these people and we enjoy them and we want to give them an opportunity to grow, maybe it would be actually very cool to have these low tier kind of opportunities for these people. And then again, maybe there are more advanced community members who are actually capable of building a game but would need 5,000 USD to hire a person to help them out or to hire a skill that they don't have. And maybe we will see a ton of proposal in that space. So I think it's really important to get a feel for how much hunger there is in the community at this lower tier level for people to start projects in Decentraland. And once we have tested these processes, once we have a feeling for, okay, at this tier level, we do have some interest, but not enough, let's try to move that up a little bit further into the 30,000 USD area, let's say, to actually have a pro team work at it for a month or two. We will probably have to try the next step. So I think it totally makes sense to start slowly here. And actually, there is a bit of a discussion on that going on in the forum. So let's click through on this newly associated button, and we didn't have that in the previous setup, so this is really comfortable. If we just move over, and you will have a copy of that proposal here, but what's really cool is that you have now a discussion further down here. And we do have an interesting contribution from the user Kevin Clark, who is specifically pointing out that these tiers are a little bit on the lower side, and he would propose this type of tiers here: 5 grand minimum, and then 15 to 15,000, and then 15,000 to 30,000. And interestingly, Eric, who is apparently the submitter of this proposal, he kind of agrees but explains that we need to test the waters first and feel confident about the steps in that DAO before moving on to larger numbers, just to avoid wasting and burning funds for projects and for processes that have never been used before. And you can jump in here, register an account in the forum, and just hit the reply button and contribute your opinion on that particular proposal. Now, I will actually now go back and vote for this proposal, because I think it's a good first step. So I'm going to hit that vote for button. Boom. I will need to sign a message here. Let's do that. And no. And I have voted. So this is as simple as this. No gas, no nothing. You basically read the proposal. You hit the forum discussion button. You discuss, you read what other people think on the topic, and then you come back to vote. And the only thing which I'm not fully certain of, actually I'm not certain at all, I haven't found any information on this just yet, and I had to pose a question in the Discord to understand if there is a minimum participation required here of, do we need to reach at least 2 million voting points for this proposal to be valid? Or is the only constraint right now the time frame it runs within? So let's say on the May 31st, only one person, which is me, has voted for this proposal, and then it will show 100%, 6,000 voting points, and 0%, 0 voting points, and the time would have run out. Would that mean that this proposal has been accepted? Would that imply that people would actually have to come to the DAO to make sure they vote against a lot of the nonsense proposals that are likely to come up? It's an interesting question, and I think the Decentraland team had to answer this question as well. And I think it's not an easy answer there, because on one hand, you do not want to place a threshold of a minimum voting point number, especially with such a new DAO where we have very little participation right now. You do not want for all of the proposals just never reach the minimum threshold. So I think for this reason, they might have kept it open. But yeah, we will have to see. I think we really need to give this a test run, have a couple of proposals go through, see what kind of impact this will have, and eventually make adjustments as we go. So I think this is really cool. The community grants framework is properly set up. I think everyone who is watching this should definitely come here and vote for this. I'm not going to try influencing people going forward on how to vote. I'm actually going to specifically avoid this as much as possible, but I do want to make sure that on some of the key foundational votes, where I think it's pretty obvious that we need to vote yes to just launch this whole ecosystem before we make real decisions, right? So yeah, guys, I think this is another DAO video that has covered some of the fundamentals. I will cover other DAO proposals going forward in a specific playlist here. If you do find these kind of videos useful, I would really appreciate if you subscribe to the channel. I think about 2/3 of people watching this are not subscribed. Probably something that is pretty common on YouTube. But if you are not subscribed, hit the subscribe button now. And if you don't mind hitting the like button, I would really appreciate that as well. All right, guys. I see you in the next video. Take care.